The game doesn't start when you're ready. The game starts when you're honest. If you're still watching, your readiness is no longer relevant. Listen closely, because this isn't a performance. And it isn't a comfort blanket. It's a mirror. Not a mirror for appearances. A mirror for motive. You arrived here carrying reasons, some spoken, some secret, and right now, before any claims, before any grand language, one truth steps forward. Honesty outranks preparation. Readiness is a story we tell ourselves to delay the moment. Honesty is the key that turns quietly, cleanly, and the door moves. You won't be asked to act out rituals. You won't be told to imitate foreign forms. No theatrics, no superstition, no lines against faith. What we are dealing with is simpler, sharper, and closer. Integrity with what you've known all along. When a life turns, it doesn't always thunder. Sometimes it clicks, a soft internal yes, a refusal to drag old excuses into a new hour. That's the pulse you're hearing now, steady, undeniable. There's a pattern that keeps repeating in people's lives. Loops of nearly held together by one thread, hesitation disguised as caution. It has 1,000 polite names, latter, soon, when I'm ready. But it breeds the same result, stillness that is not peace, silence that is not wisdom. Honesty cuts that thread in a single breath, not the loud kind, the clean kind. This is what I've been avoiding. This is where I stop pretending. This is what I will no longer carry as my identity. No drama, just truth. You may feel a tightening in the chest when truth steps this close. That isn't doom. That's the seam between old and new pulling apart. The mind searches for exits, comparison, distraction, noise. But exits are only useful if the room is on fire. This room isn't burning, it's clarifying. The fog that let excuses flourish is thinning. And in clear air, every borrowed narrative loses power. You don't need louder words. You need straighter sentences. Understand this. Dignity and discipline are twins. Where dignity rises, discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like alignment. You don't have to announce anything to anyone. You don't have to perform conviction. What you carry quietly, your private oath to the truth, changes more than any declaration shouted for applause. The world has a way of listening to people who have stopped arguing with themselves. So here is the frame for everything that follows. No chasing, only choosing. No fear of missing years, only reverence for this hour. We are not here to borrow symbols we don't understand or to parade mysteries for effect. We are here to say, with steadiness and respect, character first, then outcome. Because when character takes its rightful seat, outcomes follow the line it draws. If you need proof that a turn is possible, look at the moments that already shaped you. None of them waited for perfect conditions. They arrived like a sentence you couldn't ignore. This is one of those sentences. It doesn't demand spectacle. It invites clean decision. The kind that aligns belief with word and word with deed. No noise, no show. Just a life stepping into its rightful weight. Hold that, nothing extra. Let the simple truth be enough. Honesty starts the game, and once the game truly starts, every old delay loses jurisdiction. You can dress hesitation in silk, and it will still be hesitation. You can crown excuses with eloquence, and they will still be excuses. Honesty strips costumes, gently, precisely, until motive stands uncovered, not to humiliate, to clarify, because clarity is mercy. Because when the inner court is clean, your steps stop wobbling between yesterday and tomorrow. There is a subtle difference between wanting change and being willing to live the cost of change. Wanting speaks in wishes, willingness signs its name. Wanting narrates, willingness edits. Wanting collects phrases. Willingness discards everything that doesn't serve the truth you claim. And the moment you feel that difference, however quietly, the axis shifts, not with spectacle, but with weight. the weight of a word you finally mean. Notice how certain phrases have kept you small. After I fix everything. Once I have proof. When I feel worthy. Each one postpones a life already knocking. Each one says, I need permission from a future that hasn't arrived. The cure is not noise. The cure is a straighter sentence. I will live from what I know, now. No rebellion against faith. No imitation of trends. Just alignment with what is right and clear. What's upright does not beg, it stands. You don't need borrowed myths to appear powerful. You need clean intentions. You don't need grand performances to appear devoted. You need consistent truth. Let that be the spine. Let that be the signature. When people encounter a person who has stopped negotiating with their own values, they feel it, rooms quiet, options multiply. Not because of theatrics, but because conviction has a frequency that organizes chaos. Understand this law, etched not in stone, but in consequence, character precedes command. Influence without character is decoration. Influence with character is direction. The world may reward the first for a season. Reality only obeys the second, and the second is available. The instant you refuse to carry what contradicts you, no ornaments. No slogans, substance over spectacle. You are not asked to mimic anyone's path. You are asked to honor what you already know to be right, even when no one is clapping. Especially when no one is clapping. There is a grace in walking straight when shortcuts glitter. There is a power in declining applause that costs your center. And there is a relief, a deep, breathable relief, when your inner and outer sentences finally match. So let the audit continue, quiet, exact, respectful, which beliefs still rent space without paying, which stories keep returning dressed as caution, which compromises have been stealing from your dignity, one small bargain at a time. You don't need to shout the answers, you don't need to display them. You only need to stop pretending you don't see them. Because once seen, they shrink. Once named, they lose their mask. And once you stop financing them with your attention, they end. Hold the line here. No dramas, no ceremonies, no experiments. Just truth, carried cleanly. When motive is right, the path does not beg to be noticed. It reveals. And when it reveals, hesitation has no authority left. There is a word that haunts progress, almost committed. Almost consistent, almost truthful with myself. It sounds harmless, but it drains years. Almost is the mask. Hesitation wears when it wants respect. Strip the mask, and what remains is delay, polite, rehearsed. Rehearsed, respectable delay. Here is the quiet turn. Certainty isn't noise, it's neatness. It doesn't need a crowd. It doesn't require a drum roll. It simply arranges your inner sentences so they stop contradicting each other. When the inside stops arguing, the outside stops resisting. Doors notice people who carry themselves without inner debate. You do not need spectacle to begin. You need finality. The soft steel kind. Finality says, I will no longer narrate futures. I refuse to live. Finality says, I will no longer decorate excuses with eloquence. Finality walks past the stage and into the work without announcing an arrival. It is quieter than motivation and far stronger. Understand the difference between momentum and motion. Motion is busy, momentum is directional. Motion performs, momentum progresses. Many spend months in loud motion lists, talks, slogans, while their life stays in the same room. Momentum is simpler. Fewer words, straighter choices, cleaner days, not dramatic effective. There is dignity in restraint. There is power in declining what breaks your center even when it glitters. Some offers are expensive precisely because they are cheap. They cost you your alignment. Declining them is not a loss. When the ledger is clean, reality stops misreading your intentions. You don't have to borrow symbols or copy someone else's map. Integrity is portable. It travels with you across rooms, roles, and seasons. It makes promises lighter because you no longer carry double language, one for display. one for truth. Single language living is relief. It is the end of almost, if you need a name for this point in your story. Call it closure, not on people, but on patterns. Closure on the version of you that needed constant persuasion to do what was already right. Closure on the script that performed confidence but outsourced conviction. Closure on the idea that worth must be proven before you walk upright. Hold this line steady, respectful, unwavering. No more almost. No more polite postponements dressed as prudence. No more inner debates that pretend to be wisdom. From here, your words stop making promises your days can't keep. And when that happens, you won't have to announce change. Change will announce you. Power doesn't arrive with trumpets, it arrives with consistency. Not the loud kind, the clean kind. A person who keeps their word to themselves carries a weight that speeches can't counterfeit. You've seen it before. Someone enters a room and the noise softens, not because they demand attention, but because their integrity is audible. That's the difference between posture and presence. Posture is learned, presence is earned. There is a temptation to collect polished phrases and mistake them for progress. But phrases are garments. Useful, yes, not the spine. The spine is your private alignment, when no one is watching. The spine is how you treat your time, your promises, your people, and yourself when applause would never know. When these agree, the world reads you clearly. When they disagree, the world reads you correctly and withholds. Understand this. Quiet order is a signal. It tells your life where to cue and what to prioritize. When your days stop contradicting your values, opportunities stop testing your confusion. They either fit or they fall away. That is not punishment. It is protection. It is the mercy of clarity doors closing. That should never have been considered. Doors opening that were waiting for your doubt to end. Beware the glow of borrowed urgency, those storms that promise everything and scatter your center. Not every urgent voice serves you. Some winds only look like weather. Inside them is just someone else's timeline. You are allowed to decline speed in favor of truth. The straight path is rarely the noisiest. It is often the one with fewer footprints and fewer explanations. There is a craft to restraint. It is not fear. It is guardianship. Guard your focus the way an artisan guards the raw material that becomes the masterpiece. No waste, no casual compromise, no trading essential structure for decoration. People will offer you shining shortcuts that cost too much. They cost your clarity. Pay with patience instead. Patience keeps your account solvent. Shortcuts bankrupt character. You do not owe a performance to be believed. You owe coherence. Coherence is when your statements can stand without a stage. Your decisions without escort. When proof arrives, it rarely shouts. It accumulates small, precise confirmations that your path is built on bedrock. Not marketing. Let your measures be simple and dignified. Do my words and my ways match? Does my peace remain when the room grows loud? Have I stopped financing the habits that drain me of honor? The answers don't need to trend. They need to be true. Truth travels well. It doesn't fray under scrutiny. It doesn't wobble when questioned. It may be quiet, but it's durable. So here is the shape of this next stretch of your journey. Less spectacle, more substance. Fewer declarations, stronger days. Fewer borrowed slogans, deeper roots. When you carry yourself with that kind of neatness, life recognizes the signal. Distractions lose their shine. Empty endorsements lose their grip. The path may look simpler from the outside, but from the inside it feels like breathing at last. Hold to this standard calm, firm, unbending, proof without performance. Let the work speak in due time. Let dignity set the pace, and let every room you enter learn what your silence already knows. You are finished negotiating with what weakens you. There is a kind of strength that doesn't glitter, doesn't shout, doesn't audition. It simply has weight. Not the weight of burden, the weight of truth carried cleanly. When a person stops borrowing shine and starts embodying substance, rooms recalibrate. The loud offers thin out. The quiet doors, built for those who mean what they say, beckon to appear. Flash promises shortcuts. Gravity promises arrival. Flash begs to be seen. Gravity cannot be ignored. Flash is a costume that tires the wearer. Gravity is a core that steadies the walk. If you've ever wondered why certain people seem escorted by opportunity, look closer. It isn't luck. It's legibility. Their choices read the same from every angle. No double language. No rented conviction. Just a life that has stopped wobbling. You don't need to collect louder slogans. You need alignment that survives silence. The test of any claim is not how it sounds on the best day, but how it holds on the ordinary day. When nobody's clapping, when distractions crowd, when the easy out glows. Gravity holds. It keeps the center from scattering. It keeps dignity from being traded. For attention, be careful with borrowed urgency that arrives wearing another person's dream. Some storms are only noise pressure, without purpose, velocity without direction. You are allowed to choose clarity over speed. Let the unnecessary pass. Let the essential remain. Real progress often looks like subtraction before it looks like expansion, fewer contradictions, fewer leaks, fewer apologies for what doesn't fit. There is a ledger that life respects, word kept, boundary honored, value not betrayed. Each time you refuse the glitter that would devalue your core, the ledger tilts in your favor. Not because you hustled louder, but because you stayed true when it would have been convenient to bend. This is how outcomes start to align, not by spectacle, but by steadiness. Understand this distinction and guard it. Audience versus witness. An audience needs entertainment. A witness needs evidence. Live for witnesses. Let your days produce proof that doesn't depend on mood or on the weather of other people's opinions. When the proof gathers, quietly, consistently, respect follows without being chased. And what follows respect? Access that performance could never buy. So let the stance become unmistakable, calm, exact, unbending where it matters. No theatrics, no displays that cost your center, gravity over flash when the hour tests you. And it will choose the sentence you can live with tomorrow, not the applause you could rent tonight. In time, those sentences become your shelter. And under that shelter, your life stops asking permission to be real. Trust is not built with thunder. It's built with straight lines. A straight line between what you say and what you do, a straight line between what you value and what you allow, a straight line between the promise and the proof when those lines match. Your life stops sending mixed signals, and the world stops misreading you. People often confuse charisma with credibility. Charisma performs, credibility endures. Charisma asks to be believed. Credibility makes belief the natural conclusion. Charisma can rent a moment. Credibility owns the room, quietly. You don't need brighter lights. You need fewer contradictions. When there's nothing to untangle, respect has nothing to resist. Consider how many doors stayed shut, not because you lack talent, but because your message kept changing costumes. One day, certainty. The next, compromise. 1 hour, this matters most. The next, I can bend this boundary. Just this once. Doors don't hate you. Doors read you. They wait for you to stop arguing with yourself. There is a relief that arrives when your inner court finally agrees. No more rented conviction. No more sentences tailored to the room at the cost of the soul. No more clever detours that turn simple paths into mazes. Detours look busy. Mazes feel important. Neither arrives. Arrival belongs to the ones who choose the road that doesn't need narration. Only walking. Hold this law close, simple. Humane, unbreakable. What you reinforce remains. If you reinforce delay, delay grows roots. If you reinforce clarity, clarity grows wings. If you reinforce bargains that shrink you, you will live smaller than your truth. The day you stop funding what weakens you is the day your future stops mistaking you for a spectator. There is no need to imitate another's cadence. Integrity has its own music. It is steady without stiffness, firm without cruelty, humble without shrinking. You will notice it in your tone when difficult conversations arrive. Less defense, more clarity, fewer explanations, more essence. You will notice it in your choices. Less panic, more principle. You will notice it in your peace. Less noise, more neatness. Let the measure be dignified and direct. Would I trust this sentence? If I heard it from someone else? If yes, carry it. If not, retire it. There is courage in quiet correction. There is wisdom in clean subtraction. There is strength in refusing to polish what should be replaced. The old scripts had their season. Gratitude does not demand. You remain their actor. From here on, choose the kind of strength that doesn't need a witness to be real. Choose the kind of clarity that doesn't need applause to remain. Choose the kind of truth that stands upright, even when convenience bends. This is how architecture becomes visible, line by line, decision by decision. A life that holds without spectacle, without strain, because the foundation is not for show. It is for standing. There are moments when strength looks like advance, and moments when strength looks like no, not allowed, no, a clean, unshakable no, the kind that doesn't bruise, doesn't perform, doesn't beg to be understood. It simply honors what is right to honor. That is not stubbornness, that is stewardship. A life is a trust, boundaries are how you guard it. People often confuse openness with availability. Openness welcomes truth. Availability sells time. Openness listens, availability leaks. When your hours, attention, and words are treated as sacred, measured, honest, aligned, your path stops being a marketplace and becomes a corridor. Corridors don't host chaos, they lead somewhere. Every boundary you keep writes a line in the ledger of who you are. This I allow, this I decline. This strengthens me, this thins me. You are not rejecting people when you refuse what breaks your center. You are rejecting the terms that would trade your clarity for convenience. Mercy without order becomes exhaustion. Order without mercy becomes stone. The balance is dignity, firm, humane, consistent. Understand this with finality. A blurred line invites a noisy life. Vague promises attract urgent demands. Half-made decisions attract full-sized consequences. But when your yes means yes, and your no means no without theater, the world recalibrates, invitations change. The frantic stops knocking, and the worthy knows where to find you. Guard against the glitter that calls itself opportunity, but requires you to go smaller to accept it. Some doors open wide, only because they lead to narrow rooms. If the price of entry is your peace, the cost is too high. Even when the sign out front blazes with praise, declining the wrong door is not loss, it is loyalty to truth. To honor to the straight line your life is drawing. You don't need to dramatize limits. Quiet clarity travels farther. The more simply you state what you will and won't carry, the more simply life can align around it. Explanations multiply when conviction is rented. Explanations shrink when conviction is real. Let your sentences be short enough to stand and clean enough to last. There is a softness available on the far side of firmness, the softness of not defending what is already right. When your boundary is set with respect, it doesn't harden your heart. It lightens your steps. You move through your hours with less apology, less debris, fewer repairs. And that spare energy, spent on mending avoidable fractures, returns to its rightful work, building what endures. Hold this posture, calm, courteous, unmistakable. Your value is not up for negotiation. Your peace is not for auction. Your word is not for rent. Where you stand becomes where you're seen, and where you're seen clearly, consistently, is where the doors designed for you finally open without noise. A life is not believed because of a single bright moment. It is believed because days agree. One day can impress, a sequence convinces. This is why quiet consistency outlives loud beginnings. When your hours line up behind what is right, your name gathers weight that announcements can't manufacture. Reputation is not marketing, it is memory. The memory of promises kept. There is a difference between a good mood and a good standard. Moods swing, standards stand. A good mood writes big plans. A good standard writes small, durable sentences your day can carry without breaking. You don't need grand gestures to be real. You need a way of walking that remains true in heat and in calm, in praise and in silence. Guard the corridor between intention and permission. Intention is the aim you hold when the room is quiet. Permission is what you allow when the hour gets noisy. Many betray their best intentions at the door of convenience. The correction is simple and strong. Let your permission serve your intention, not the other way around. When permission bows to intention, your path stops fraying. Be wary of the sparkle that arrives with half-price integrity. Some offers appear generous until you read the small print. Please discount your piece. Please dilute your word. Please bend your line just a little. Decline beautifully. Decline without anger. Decline because your future is too costly to fund with bargains that shrink you. Discounts on character are debts with interest. Understand this, honor compounds. Each truthful choice pays dividends in clarity. Each kept boundary pays dividends in focus. Each refusal to mimic what you don't respect pays dividends in self-respect. Over time, those dividends purchase doors that refuse to open for noise. This is not superstition, it is sequence. Plant wheat, harvest wheat. Plant thorns, harvest thorns. The ledger does not confuse seeds. Humility will keep you safe while you get stronger. Not the shrinking kind, the accurate kind. Accurate humility knows the difference between what is yours to carry and what is not, between what you can promise and what you must learn first. It speaks without pretending to be more, and it walks without pretending to be less. That balance keeps your steps clean and your tongue light. Silence, used wisely, is not emptiness. It is guardrails. Silence around what is still forming protects it from unnecessary weather. Speak when speaking serves truth. Withhold when speaking would only perform. Words are tools. Don't use a trumpet where a single steady line will do. The right sentence at the right moment carries farther than crowds of sound. Let your measures remain simple and strong. Did my day match my claim? Did I refuse what fractures my center? Did I honor what I know is right, even when no one watched? If the answers lean honest and clean, your path is already correcting. If they reveal a wobble, be grateful to see it. Correction is mercy. A straight line drawn today is stronger than a perfect speech about tomorrow. From here, build in a way that doesn't need rescue. Choose tasks that respect your values. Choose company that respects your boundaries. Choose sentences you can read back a year from now without apology. When your days gather like that, quiet, aligned, trustworthy, you won't have to chase credibility. Credibility will recognize you on sight. You felt it by now, the difference between noise and truth, between borrowed shine and your own steady light. All along, the turning wasn't in a spectacle. It was in a sentence you could live with tomorrow. Honesty starts the game. Dignity keeps the rules. Consistency wins the room without asking. When your word stops wobbling, life stops misreading you. And the peace that follows isn't passive. It's proof. Walk back through what matters and let it settle, character before outcome. Gravity over flash. Boundaries without apology. Evidence over explanation. Silence curated, not empty. These are not slogans, they are guardrails. They keep you from spending tomorrow's honor on tonight's approval. They keep you whole when the hour turns heavy. They keep you clear when loud doors try to buy your consent with applause. You don't need to perform conviction. You only need to stop renting it. Close the account where excuses draft your balance. Stop financing. What thins your center? When your yes means yes and your no means no, without theater rooms change. Invitations change. Your reflection changes. And the outcome that once had to be chased begins to choose you back. If you're waiting for perfect conditions, understand, delays disguised as wisdom grow roots. The simplest courage is often the cleanest sentence. I will live from what I know is right now, not for display, not to impress, simply because truth carried quietly is already a kind of power, and power carried humbly is already a kind of prayer. So this is the line you can live with, and the world can read without confusion. No borrowed shine, no rented conviction, no discounts on dignity. Say less, mean more. Promise less, deliver more. Guard your atmosphere. Keep your word. Choose the door that does not ask you to become smaller than you're on. Read this with your whole chest, if this spoke to you. Stand in it publicly, right? I'm walking straight, in the comments, so your future can find the receipt. Not as performance, but as clarity. If this reminded you who you are, subscribe and turn on notifications. Not for numbers, for continuity. Let the next message meet you while your resolve is still warm. If someone you love is living on the edge of almost, share this with them today. Not to prove a point, to protect what's best in them. And when the familiar shortcuts glitter, return to the sentence that steadies the hand and quiets the room. The game doesn't start when you're ready. The game starts when you're honest. Stay aligned. Walk straight.